Before now, I was believing that the issue with the Niger coup was all about the bad governance of the previous administration that led the military to take over power in the country. But when you look deep beyond the democratic rascality that has been going on in the country, you would understand that the issue with all this coup happening in Africa is not all about bad governance. This video has come to expose the reason why this Niger coup really happened. It might interest you to watch it to the end. It has exposed everything concerning the West, the Russia, and the game plan. Why they don't want the West to continue mining the uranium in Niger. Why Russia is interested in becoming the allies to so many countries that are supplying energy to the Western countries like South Africa, Niger, Mali, all these countries. Russia wants them to become an ally. Why? This video has the answer to it. Take your time and watch it to the end.
What happened in Niger did not start from the country. It's something that emanated globally. It has been a Cold War, which has been between the Western nations and the new allied nations, which is Russia, China, and co, the BRICS nation. There's been a Cold War between these two nations, and they begin to fight this war in different dimensions, from technology points and then to energy points. But what is currently going on, and it's an energy war. It's an energy war.
Energy war.
Energy war. It's a war between the Western nation and the new allied nations, which Russia and China is leading. It's a war of control of resources, also between the two groups. So this has been on over time. And if I want to really dive more into it, I will take it back as far back as 2014, 2016. During the major exploration of the oil, and which has led to some supremacy battles between this block of people, and that alone has a major impact to deal with. So, looking at it from that point of view, it's a war that the Western nations is fighting for the liberation of Europe from Russia endangerment, because they have been so much dependent on Russia over time. So this battle is what led to the Ukraine war. And it's another replica of Ukraine war that is going to take place in Africa if we don't stop it. The energy war started when Russia constructed the Nord Stream 1 and 2, which was a major supply of gas to Europe. And this pipeline existed for a long time. If you remember, this pipeline passed through Ukraine, which was part of the Crimea area. And because Russia was constantly paying that passage fee to Ukraine, and they just decided one day in 2014 and took over Crimea area, the waterfront, and so that the pipeline could pass. And Europe did not do anything about it. They felt, okay, this has reduced our gas price. Okay. They clapped for themselves and they were happy about it.
Because at that point in time, it was all beneficial to Europe.
It was beneficial to them. So that continued, and until Russia decided to expand, encroach more into Ukraine. And then I said, hey, hold on a second. We didn't know you were going to go this far, and then it became this war. And if you realize that at the beginning of the war, once the war just started, it didn't take up to 6 months. Nord Stream 1 pipeline, which is what Russia invested almost $20 billion, got blown up. And Russia suspected U.S. on the other hand, and that affected the U.S., that affected the Europe gas supply. And with that effect affecting the Euro gas supply, Europe began to look for an alternative to gas supply into their nation. An alternative, how can the entire Europe gas pipeline be fed? And that became a concern. Do you know what it did that was very fantastic? If you recall, in 2006, during Basenjo period, the Trans-Saharan African gas pipeline was fully completed in design, and the full studies was done. And it was satisfied that this gas pipeline is economically viable. 2006, that certification was done. It was done on September 2006. The final, I have a report of that. I read through it a little bit, and I understand what was contained in that. And this gas pipeline was supposed to pass from Warri all the way into Europe, passing through Nigeria. Nigeria had about 1,200 kilometers of feet. The total distance to be covered was about 4,100 kilometers. So this is the gas pipeline. It passes through Nigeria and passes through Niger, and then passes through Algeria and enter into Europe. So before this war, this project was dead. Before Ukraine war, this project was dead. And Ukraine war started, the Europe came and built a relationship among these three countries, Nigeria, Niger, and Algeria. And they came back to reactivate these contracts. They came back to reactivate this contract in July 2022. The three ministers of petroleum all attended an event where they signed that. And then Russia now said, okay, where's this gas line going to pass through? It's going to pass through Niger. No, we have to stop it. We just have to stop it. And Russia has laid this plan over time. It's not something new. They knew that the resources of Africa is between West Africa and Southern Africa. So they have, if you look at the series of coups that have happened of recent time, it's a complete bridge blocking that coast from the top of West Africa all the way to East Africa. It closed. You started from Sudan, which touches the Horn of Africa, and it takes it down to Mali, takes it down to Guinea, takes it down, and now we have this. So that blockage has been created. So the question is, how would gas get into Europe? And Russia has said no. And by this, not only did they say no to it, they've also said no to the second source of energy sources, because the three core energy sources to Europe now rely on fossil fuel, which is oil and gas, rely on coal, which they have blocked through South Africa, and rely on what? Uranium, which the J is the third highest supplier of the world and has the highest, best quality in the world. So what else could they do? If you block that place, so when I make that definition and say that it is an energy war that is going on, and this is a Cold World War III that, if not stopped.
Well, again, we'll still come back to if we don't stop it and explore the weave there. But again, I want to look at the energy war and the Cold War you just highlighted. What about the France, involvement in all of this? Because you've just spoken about Russia. And again, we'll also come back to the Wagner Group. But again, some have said that this, again, points to France.
Anybody looking at it from the point of France will not understand it fully. To be from the point of myopic point of view. Because if you look at it from the point of France, it means you're only considering the uranium. Since Niger got independent, the French government established two mining companies in Niger. Since independent, they established two mining companies in Niger. These two mining companies control over 90% of the uranium mining in Niger. And these two companies is owned by a company called Orano. Orano is a French government-owned company who owns 60% and above of these two companies. So the mining of uranium automatically goes to France. And that's why you hear this general saying that for every 3 bulbs that is lighted, that is on in France, that one is coming from the uranium from Niger. So looking at it from the point of France will be very myopic because it goes beyond France. It's the same establishment of the war in Ukraine that is going to happen in West Africa, in this sub-region. Because the war going on in Ukraine, the two blocks, the Western bloc and the New Allied bloc are testing their powers there. So a new venue is about to be created, which is Niger. And you're thinking about, nobody should look at this as just a Niger war. Because the 5 countries that are under military rule has made a pronouncement. If you try this, we are part of it. And understand that most of these coups that happen in these 5 countries were carried out by mercenaries, contractors, military contractors. They were not done by these military people you see holding the office. They were tactfully executed by a military contractor. Who controls the military contractors of the world? We know about that, Russians, such as the Wagner Group and others. So It's far beyond that.
So before we get to stopping it quickly here, let's just a little bit of statistics here. Kazakhstan is the largest uranium producer in the world, which has a production volume of over 21,000 metric tons.
Yeah.
And Nigeria has just about 5% of world mining output. But again, with a production output of over 2,020 metric tons.
No, they do 3,000 now.
So it's been upgraded to 3,000.
That's what they do.
All right.
There's something you need to pay attention. The entire mining in Niger happened in a region called the Agadez. And all the major highways in the entire country leads to that region called Agadez. Every other road outside going to Agadez is a bad road. It's not looking good. It's abnormal. And Agadez, in part of Agadez called Alta. Alta has an airport, and more like an airstrip. But that airstrip is as busy as anything. And that is where the U.S. has domiciled their drone sites. And what is that drone monitoring? So you will look at it that how could the French company be excavating uranium, and the U.S. company is the one providing military coverage, and you tell me it's only them that benefit from that? No, it doesn't work that way.
So in your analysis, you have...
It's a resource control war.
You have Wagner Group, which is a Russian mercenary arm. And of course, you have Europe, one part of Europe, specifically France. What's the place of the United States in this? Because the United States, has been speaking about the coup in Niger.
The United States has a military base. As of my last check, that military base has uniformed military officers, about 1,001, domicile inside there. And they are where? Located in Agadez, where this solid mineral called uranium is located. So you can feel this, you can feel the interest. And if you have 1,001 military officers that are domiciled there, and you converted it to a drone base, and the non-military people, we don't even have the statistics to say, there may be up to 2,000 there that are there. So it is a drone control base for the U.S. Army, for the U.S. military across West Africa. So why would they be there if they don't have an ally with France? It is that relationship with France that put them together. But, and they are partners
but
in
again,
trade.
for Africans, sorry to cut you there, Dr. Onoha, for Africans, why would ECOWAS, why would the AU allow this to happen to the continent if truly this is some kind of energy war that should benefit the continent?
You see, why this is very interesting for me now. This is the first time where Africa will be treated as a beautiful bride. You have two suitors. Before, we only have the Western world. Whatever aid they offer, we take it or otherwise. They offer the aid with the left hand, takes more resources with the right hand. Now, we are having two suitors. And this is saying this, this is saying this. This is time for the African leaders to sit back and reevaluate. And the conditions...
Do you think anyone is saying anything? It looks like everyone is just saying, get out of Niger. But it looks like, again, no one is saying, be in charge of your natural resource.
But that should be the focus. And that's what I want Africa...
And that is why I want us to go back to AU, which is the overall body of the continent. How can they truly help harness the potential of our natural resources?
Okay.
Cobalt is the major cause of the strife in Congo.
You know one thing, most African nations don't engage into mineral beneficiations. They just take it, sell it as it is. You can quote this, put it on record and check it. Even the uranium that has been taken out of Niger is only 5.5% that is paid back to the government of the total value of that. So how do you want it? And these new people that orchestrated this coup is saying, enough of this. Instead of we getting this 5%, we want to own everything. We decide what we'll give you. This is part of their grudges. And what I need African leaders to think about is how can we do enough mineral beneficiation? Take a typical example, lithium, which is the whole dependent of solar, is on lithium. Solar storage systems and everything. The electric cars that we drive and we mention about, without lithium, it can't function. And that mineral, even as we speak in Nigeria, we have over 27 commercial deposits that are viable in Nigeria. It has not been touched. It's just a little bit. So what an African leader should do is how to take ownership of this mineral resources. I just gave you an example. The one in Nigeria we are talking about. The two French companies has been it from independence. And their parent company, Orano, is state enterprise. State government. It is the French government that owns it. And so who is doing that mining? It's not just a French company, it is the government. And the condition the French nations in Africa got their independence is questionable. It's really questionable. And it's that condition where you have independence, but you're still under slavery. Think about where your foreign reserve is domiciled and you borrow against your foreign reserve. Those conditions are not. But what is important and interesting for us to do is how will this change? These young leaders, anybody approaching them and say, hey, hand over to this, no, understand their grudges. Sit them down and interview with them. Why did you do this? Where are your pains coming from? If you take a statistics of them, all of them that executed this coup is between, the date of birth is from 1973 to 1983 or 93, sir.
Doesn't also this also
so
worry
that
this is not the first time we've seen military incursion in some African countries, and sometimes they go ahead to metamorphose into a democratic government, and they stay put in power without also fixing what should be fixed in those countries.
It's all about the mentality, though. If these people are sincere and real, most times, it's just like the current government we have. They are busy fighting for credibility, for acceptance in the Western world. So they are bound to tit towards them. That is not called for. Call a spade a spade. What do I have to please Western world? I'm a country, an independent country of my own, and I'm a president. So, but what is important for us to pay attention to is how do African leaders take possession of their natural resources? Because this war is resource control. We shouldn't allow two blocks to convert Africa into a battlefield because of resource control. The Western world and the new allied nations.
And that's so identified, again, that's so identified what should be the solution to bringing about some form of calm in Nigeria and the West African bloc?
Okay. This is the 5th coup happening across this bloc. And Sudan has this war going on. If African Union and the West African regional body wants to intervene in this through ECOWAS, they should, for me, is invite these people that executed this coup. Sit them down. We're not fighting you. You're a citizen of that country. You're entitled to the leadership of the country. It's your right. How you got it is what we are questioning. But, okay, why did you do this? We all have kids, though. When they act and behave somehow and throw their tantrum, sometimes we'll sit there and call them back and say, why did you behave like this? You're not supposed to. Why? So if you want to provide leadership, ask that question. When you ask that question, you can say, no, it's not good. Okay, how long can we plan your exit for you? Globally, democracy is accepted rulership style. How do we plan a democratic system, an exit strategy for this? Where, okay, in 6 months or in 3 months, we set an election timetable. But their grievances must be addressed. When you think you can suppress these things, it's just like Nigeria, we try to suppress NSAS. It's still building. It will still explode. Mostly the hunger that we have in town now. It will still explode. So that suppression should not be allowed to. You have to hear them out and then provide a solution. And the solution is very easy. Hey, you all that call yourself big giant that is fighting for the resources. We need the resources to be done in this place. You know what, France, if you're interested in getting more uranium, we need a power plant. These people cannot remain in darkness. They cannot remain in darkness. It's just, are they as foolish as ourselves where we have our crude being exploited and exported to the other countries in the name of what? IOCs? Sit all the IOCs out. If you don't have a refinery, walk out of Nigeria. Cancel every contract. There's nothing that will happen. It's simple as that. So we need to create a system where this natural resources is being put in place. And it's only when it's put in place in full utilizations in Africa that the benefit in terms of education, in terms of development, in terms of good health will begin to, because we cannot be sustaining them. It is Africa that is feeding the world. The world is not feeding Africa.
But again, Africa has refused to also feed itself.
How?
So, because if you look at those who also plunder these resources, the Africans who also collude and plunder these resources, you live in Nigeria, we've seen what people do, the kind of devastation and thievery happening in Niger Delta and so many of these places, and even in the backyards of Taraba. These are Nigerians, so, involved. So how can Africa and Africans sit down and realize that now is the time to develop the continent?
Okay, see, it is not a case of realizing that now it is time. It is the time. You know why is the time? Let me give you a typical scenario in Nigeria. In Nigeria, I always tell people we have two block of people in this country. We have the post-independence and the pre-independence. We have the post-civil war and the pre-civil war. The two mentalities are not the same. You see this new generation that are involved in this coup, they are upright. It's like leadership. Because you are still dealing with these post-independence people who the colonial masters has made them to lose their moral rights, has made them to lose their integrity. They have nothing. Remember who we are is about our society. It's about the environment we grew up and what surrounds us. That's what made us. These people grew up with these mentalities of the colonization. Think of it. So these old leaders are different from these young ones. They are never the same. Most of these people that you see that are involved in this coup, some of them, if you get close to talk to people from those countries and hear them out, some of them schooled in France. And you know where your own classmates, your own schoolmates begin to tell you, oh, we mine your uranium and we use it to power our plant. We take these resources from, and you're in the same class with that person. Tell me how you're going to feel. If you have a gun to overthrow your nation, you will do it to change it. So there are factors behind it. So we need to come to that point where the leadership will begin to invest the natural resources in the African continent.
But such people can as well know that you can actually form a political movement and not go with a gun. If you school with these people, you understand that those same countries, no, you chuckle on that. We're actually brought to where they are, not with guns.
When you look at what slavery has done to African mentality, you need to overcome it, and it takes extra force. You understand? When you form these political parties, it's just, I don't want to go too far in Nigeria context. It requires resources. If you want to negotiate them, they're the one that will make the laws that will allow you to strive. They're the one that will head where your party will be registered. They can deregister you. They can ban you. So whatever means you have, that's what those people have used. I'm not saying they are right, but I'm saying they should be heard out. They should be listened to. You can't beat a child and stop the child to cry. You can't push me to fall and determine the direction I'm going to fall to. No.
But so far the continent is doing that, doing the listening.
Right now, no, I don't feel so. I really don't feel so. Because if the continent is doing the listening, they would not start with that stick part. They could have gone with a carrot. For a coup that just happened on the 26th of last month, you're already threatening war? No. If not, the colonial masters are choking you. If not, the Western wars are putting gun on your neck that if you don't do it, you must do it. These people must go. You don't exhaust negotiation. You don't exhaust discussion. We are Africans. So this discussion should have gone on stage by stage by stage. The people the Nigerian government has sent there are military people. Abdul Salam and the Sultan of Sokoto. These are retired generals. Send a diplomat who will sit with them and talk to them.
Lamido Sanusi has been there, and the body of ulamas, they've all been there.
Religious.
As well. And that means a lot.
It means.
In Nigeria and northern Nigeria.
Yes, it means a lot. But what I'm saying is, when you send a team and you extract so much from it, and whatever you extract, you can, if you're only honest about it though, the worst thing we have in this current government is we have a government that is fighting on legitimacy. He's fighting acceptance of the Western world. So if he sees opportunity that the Western world will give them that acceptance, they will jump at it and do anything. And I think that's what is going on. You can't do that. You can't. But the best you can do is provide our leadership. You're not there to please the Western world. Because this is a war between the Western nations and the new ally. And it is this combination that is happening in Ukraine. And it's about to repeat itself in West African soil. And the only option we have is that we must not allow it to happen.
Well, it's a fine place for us to leave it. Dr. Onoha Nachi, many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you.